What's going on, ladies and gents? Big T coming at you today with a cigar review. So today we're just kind of hanging out. We did a little housework. Emma's out with her grandma today, so she won't be running around. And Ava's taking a nap, so Daddy's gonna take time and enjoy himself a little bit today. So the one that we're gonna be reviewing today is the follow-up to one that I have done before. I don't think I did. Damn mouse. I don't think I did a review for my channel on the predecessor to this one, so we might have to go back and do that. But I did post one online on one of my Facebook sites. So today we're going to be doing the Chillin Moose Too. Chillin Moose Too. I love these bands. The other one was good too, but something about the black on red with this one and the silver lettering, it's kind of neat. So the Chillin Moose Too is the follow-up to the Chillin Moose, and this one is supposed to be roughly the same price with a different flavor profile, and we'll get into why that different flavor profile is in just a second. So this, the thing that everybody seemed to like about the Chillin Moose, and the thing that I liked personally about the Chillin Moose, was that you got a lot of punch for your dollar. So it had great flavor. Actually, for my notes, I went back, looked at my notes for the Chillin Moose before I started my page for this one. So for the original Chillin Moose, I rated it at a 4.25, so pretty high on my scale. Great construction, great price, good flavor, and overall good experience. So the thing that makes the difference between the Chillin Moose, which is the first one, and the Chillin Moose 2, which is what we're going to smoke today, is the complexity of the blend. So this one's a little bit of a simpler blend. For the Chillin Moose 2, you've got a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper on the outside, and let me take the sunglasses off here. We'll take a better look at it. So it's kind of like what I would say a dark natural, kind of lumpy and bumpy, a few veins here and there. And you could see, actually there's a pretty deep vein right in there. Not too bad on the seams. You can see a couple of the seams, but I mean it's kind of lumpy and bumpy, a darker natural. You can kind of see the difference between the ends of the wrapper there. It's kind of interesting. If I can get my camera to focus again. It's got a nice cap on it. Looks like a nice double cap maybe. So that's a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, and then the binder and filler are a two-region blend from Nicaragua. It doesn't specify which regions. So what I would expect out of this one, given that it's got the Nicaraguan filler and binder, there should be some black pepper in this, and then the Connecticut broadleaf. I haven't smoked too many cigars with the Connecticut broadleaf, but it should have kind of a sweeter flavor coming from the wrapper. So we'll see how that goes. The original Chillin Moose is said to be the big brother of this one. And the reason why it's considered the big brother is because of the extensive blend that they did for it. So the wrapper on that one was a Connecticut Habano Rosado, which was interesting. It had a nice, it had an interesting color to it. Very similar to this one. It just had a little bit more of a red hue to it, which was kind of interesting. Rosado. The binder was an Ecuadorian Sumatra, so for that one you got a little bit more of like an earthiness flavor from that. And then the filler was actually 4 or 5 different leaves combined. So they had Nicaraguan, Dominican, the U.S. broadleaf instead of the Connecticut, and then Mexican San Andreas, which gave it that little bit of a cinnamony flavor to it. If I remember correctly, that Chillin Moose was a very excellent cigar, so I have high hopes for this one. We shall see if the little brother lives up to the big brother. Not too many facts about this one. We already went through wrapper, binder, filler. It comes in 3 different sizes. So you've got a Corona, which is a 5.2 by 45. Those run about $51, $52 for a box of 20. You've got a Gigante, which is the 6 by 60, the big boy. Those are $62.81 for a box of 20. And then the Robusto, which is what we have here today, good old 5.5 by 50 standard, And those are $55.19 for a box of 20. I couldn't remember exactly where I had purchased this one, if I had purchased it online or if I had picked it up at a local B&M. I want to say I picked it up on Cigars Daily, and right now they're charging $4.52 for these each. Average, if you do the math for the prices I gave you, which come from Cigar International, you're looking about average $3 to $4 a stick. So $4.52, right in that price range. They got to make a little extra money on it too, right? You want to keep them in business. So anyway, let's get this cut up. Let's start smoking. Got to break out the toolbox. We're going to be using the Quad Jet today, the good old Zycar. I did bring the Perfect Draw just in case. It feels a little on the stiff side. So depending on the draw after we cut her, we might have to open her up a little bit. It's got that funky barnyard on the wrapper. Like a sweet tobacco on the foot. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's got like that funky barnyard smell on the wrapper, and then the sweet tobacco on the foot. Actually, this looks like a nice triple cap. You can kind of see 3 layers there. So 1, 2, and then the top, so 3. Nice triple cap. Seems fairly well rolled, so I'm not too worried about construction issues. For being such a firm cigar, that draw is actually pretty nice. Nice, like medium to light draw. And on the cold draw, I'm just really getting that sweet tobacco flavor. And maybe a little bit of like a toasted nut. Yeah, kind of like an almondy flavor. Let's get her lit up. Hope everybody's having a good day today. So far, I am waiting on the wife to get home, and then we're going to venture out and brave the return lines for cans. Got a nice pile stacked up. It's actually behind me. You can't really see it. Thank goodness. It's kind of an eyesore. I've been calling that my retirement fund. So one thing I have noticed, watching other reviewers and just other people in general smoking cigars, not everybody takes the time to heat up the wrapper. Like I previously discussed in my video about those miniature Camachos, you don't always have to, but for the bigger ones, I find it's a good idea. Especially if you were going to get one of the Gigantes, so the 6x60s. So to kind of give you the idea of, so this is a Robusto, which is a 50. So you think about one size bigger than this. It's going to be pretty big. If you've ever seen like a Leaf by Oscar, something like that, those will usually come in the Gigante size, so the 60 gauge. It's very important to get that char even, because if not, you run the risk of some running and canoeing and stuff like that. It's an interesting flavor profile right away. I think I just watched my mother drive by. She's supposed to be coming here. So we might have a slight interruption in the review process, but that's okay. Interesting flavor profile right off the bat. got like a zinginess to it. And a nice peppery note. A warm pepper though, not so much a black pepper. I would say it's almost more of like a chili pepper, kind of in the nostrils. It's not very oily and it doesn't linger very much. And that zinginess I was talking about, it's very similar to the Dominican twang that I always talk about, but just slightly different. And I think that might come from that Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. Interesting. I actually just watched Lee Mac 912's review of this cigar yesterday. Good review. Feel free to stop over and check him out. Excellent smoke output. So there's not too many pronounced flavors in this quite yet. We'll smoke on it a little bit, see what we can come up with. And yeah, hold tight guys. See if we can figure this out. Alright guys, so I've kind of put together a slight kind of profile to this zing that I'm talking about here. It's kind of like, because if I remember with the predecessor, I had mentioned something about like a graphite flavor, so it's kind of like a metallic earthiness is what I would call it. So I'm getting kind of that same vibe here, and I think like the zinginess might come from that Connecticut broadleaf. We'll have to look up a couple things on that. So the pepper profile, even just a short little bit, has changed slightly. It's not as pronounced. So it started off being kind of that spicier, kind of chili pepper type of flavor. It's starting to transition more into the Nicaraguan black pepper profile that I'm used to. So maybe there was something just up front there, a little piece of Ligero or something. It's got good smoke output. I wish the draw was just a little bit tighter. It's a little loose for my liking, but what are you going to do? To my knowledge, there's no way to make the draw tighter, so we're just going to have to deal with it, I guess. As far as pairings go for this one, I'm drinking raspberry tea today. It's a little early in the day for a adult beverage, but if you did want to go with an adult beverage, I would suggest, if you're going to go for a beer, maybe a light IPA or something with like orange peel in it. I think the orange peel would probably contrast good against the flavor of this. If you're going to go non-alcoholic, I would go for tea. Preferably something with a little bit of fruitness in there. The fruit's going to give you a nice contrast between the earthiness of the cigar and the tea itself. Now, if you're drinking this regular sweet tea or something like that, you might be okay. I prefer raspberry tea or peach tea, something along those lines. It's a nice smooth smoke. It's not super harsh. And it's not super pungent either. I mean, granted, I'm outside, but the smell of the smoke itself isn't too bad. It kind of reminds me of like burning paper or burning, I want to say burning wood, but not really burning wood. It's not campfire-ish. Dry wood. Cellophane's not overly colored, so must not have been sitting for too long. So far, let me take one more look at it before I put my foot in my mouth. Okay, so far, mascara line, fairly thick. So that tells me not super aged tobacco, which isn't a big deal. But the more interesting thing is I don't see any shoe shine on this. For anybody who's not on the uppity up about shoe shine, I just learned this recently, what it's actually for, or at least one of the reasons why it might be for. So a lot of cigar manufacturers put an additive, they paint it on or they dip them in it to the leaf on the wrapper. And what that does is, one, apparently in some cases it actually slows down or stops the fermenting process of that leaf. So if it was a fermented leaf, chances are it's going to have shoe shine for that reason. Another reason why they could have put it on there, some cigars, they want it to have a slightly different color wrappers, usually a darker wrapper. You see this a lot with Maduros. So a Maduro wrapper is notoriously very dark. And a lot of companies and blenders will put an additive on the outside of that wrapper to make it look that dark, just because the leaf that they wanted for the blend on that wrapper wasn't as dark as they wanted it to be. Kind of interesting. So no shoe shine on this one. Fairly thick mascara line, which means not super old tobacco, or not super aged tobacco rather. Nevertheless, I feel like it's got a pretty good flavor profile, especially for the cost. Being a $3 to $4 cigar, I wouldn't expect, super high quality top shelf material, but this one I think fits the profile pretty good. As I said earlier, it's kind of a smooth smoke. So on the exhale or the release, whatever you want to call it, it's not like a very thick, chewy smoke. It's more of a light, wispy. Let's see if I can adjust the camera a little bit here. It's more of like a light, wispy smoke. Not super harsh on the retrohale either, so that's nice. There's nothing worse, in my opinion, than trying a new cigar, and the first time you go to do that retrohale, it just burns out your nostrils. That sucks. I don't like that whatsoever. So this is actually a very decent smoke so far. Given that it has a lot of Nicaraguan tobacco in it, the binder and the filler being Nicaraguan, I'm expecting to get about halfway, and then all the flavors are going to be kind of muddled, that kind of thing. So we'll see if that holds true or not. But so far, so good. I did get a new editing software. So for all my videos, I do my editing on my phone. And I was having some issues with the program I was using before. But this new one seems to be doing pretty well. In fact, I like it a little bit better. So, it's a beautiful day here in Michigan. Blue skies, some clouds. Not much of a breeze today, but that's okay. It cooled off. We had a nice storm roll through the other day. High winds, hail, the whole shebang. Thankfully, no tornadoes that I know of. A couple of friends of ours were out camping. They said the camper next to them got a tree fell on it. So hopefully those folks are okay. And I went camping once in a tent. In a thunderstorm, nonetheless. That was interesting. Almost as interesting as all the raccoons that were trying to get in my tent, even though I didn't have any food. Figure that one out. Got some new cigars for my birthday. Looking forward to testing those out. I've got 3 from my sister. She likes to buy me the specials at the local B&M, and they've got 3 of the Gigante size, so the 6x60s. Those will be interesting. One of them smells pretty good. It's called Nirvana. It's a house blend, and it smells like it's got some sort of like dark fruit, like a fig or grape or something in it. So we'll check that one out. No doubt it's probably an infusion, kind of like acid does. Let's wait for this truck to go by. I'm not a big fan of the acid brand. There are a couple of their sticks I do like. The cold infusion tea is a good one. Acid Blondie is good. I just wish that the sweetened tip wasn't as sweeted as it is. Cuba is okay. I've heard good things about the Cuba deep dish. I've not tried that one yet. But my mom did buy me the, what is it? The Croquet? I think it's Croquet. The acid Croquet. Comes in a tube, 2 little shorties. So we'll get to those too. See what that's all about. I'm telling you, we're going to start counting these trucks, taking bets. So I had to look at the wrapper there for a second. I could have swore I saw some shoe shine, but it wasn't. It was just the sunlight reflecting off of it differently. This thing's smoking pretty slow, so definitely a chill cigar, something to kind of sit back, relax with. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to sit back, relax, smoke a little bit more. We're about an inch in, and see how this goes. All right, guys. Hold tight. Alright guys, so we're back. So as you can see, we're almost down to the band, so we're going to go ahead and take that off. The thing I like about the Chillin Moose bands is the style of the band. So it's a nice, just simple, rectangular piece of parchment, right? It's kind of neat. Got the moose on there, and looks like you got a rabbit in the hat smoking a cigar. The moose is chewing on the rabbit's ears, and the moose has a cigar in his hoof. I don't know if you can see that or not, but kind of neat. Moose is wearing a crown. Kind of cool. I kind of like their bands. A little bit of some artistic in there, but nice and simple. Actually, I do keep all of my bands, and I make projects out of them. I lost my Chillin Moose band from the original Chillin Moose because I made a tumbler with it, and somebody washed it when they weren't supposed to, and it got wet and moldy, and so I had to throw that away. But whatever, we can get another one. So a couple things have happened since we took our little smoke break here. First and foremost, we had an ash drop. Not necessarily an ash drop. I did tip the ash off at about 1.5 inches, just under 2 inches actually, which is right here. Fairly well compact gray ash. As you can see, it's pretty stiff. So at least that you know if it drops, it's not going to be powdery and flaky and fall all over your lap. You could probably pick it up off your lap and toss it in the ashtray. This would be the one and only time I have actually made it in the ashtray, although it was on purpose, so it is what it is. But with that ash drop, I have noticed that the smoke output was a little bit more for the first couple of minutes, and then the draw has actually tightened up just a little bit. And that might not be, and that probably isn't actually from the ash drop itself, but maybe the tobacco in this part of the cigar is a little more tightly packed. As far as strength for this cigar, I would say it's probably somewhere between mild and medium. I'm going to go with like a solid medium at this point. First couple inches of the cigar, I'd say was pretty mild, and now it's starting to pick up just a little bit, pick up a little bit of strength. As far as the body goes, the flavor, definitely mild to medium as well. There's not too many pronounced flavors right now. That main flavor that I was just talking about, the graphite type of flavor, is what I'm getting here. So very similar to, I would say, the smell that you get when you run a pencil through a sharpener. I know it doesn't sound like something that would be tasty, but it's not terrible. This is a dry smoke, so I do recommend having some sort of beverage. Again, tea. I'm actually kind of wishing that I would have waited till a little bit later, because this probably would have paired pretty well with either the Oval Beach Blonde Ale that I've got in the fridge, or I've got a couple cans of IPA left too. It probably would have gone pretty well with those, but live and learn. That pepper bite that I was talking about on the retro, I had already mentioned that it was kind of transforming into more of the more well-known, or at least well-known to me, the Nicaraguan black pepper kind of finish. But right now the pepper is actually not very dominant. You're not getting too much through the retrohale at all anymore, actually. So, kind of interesting. So there's not too many flavors. I wouldn't say that the complexity on this is very high, but it is a good flavor. I would say this would probably make a good yard gar if you're outside doing some yard work or something. I haven't had any issues with like having to relight or anything. I've set it down a little bit here and there, and it hasn't gone out. So as far as construction goes, we're definitely still aiming high. As far as the price goes, we're definitely still aiming high, because I believe you're getting what you pay for here. Just the complexity isn't there. So if you're looking for a complex cigar, this one isn't it. Now, all that said, Brother Lee Mac did have a video out a while back talking about how cigar reviews are kind of useless. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, because what I taste in this cigar might not be what you taste in this cigar. Everybody's palate's different, and you might get different flavors than I do. Yeah, it's another truck. Hold on. They have a stop sign on our corner, and they put it the wrong way. I'll explain what I mean here in just a second. So, for whatever reason, and I wouldn't necessarily, looking at our street, you wouldn't necessarily say that it's high traffic, but I do have a school maybe quarter mile down the road in one direction. There's a lot of agriculture out here, so we get a lot of bigger vehicles, trucks, trailers, harvesters, tractors. Not to say that that's a bad thing. I enjoy watching the tractors and stuff go by, and of course school buses. But the stop sign I understand from a logistics reasoning. So to me, I guess it kind of makes sense that the road with more traffic gets the stop sign for safety reasons, maybe. But to me, I think it should be the other way around. They should have the stop sign on the road that doesn't get as much traffic. But what do I know? I'm just a guy smoking a cigar in his garage with a cup of iced tea. Talking to a camera. Yeah. Anywho, so the flavor profile on this one's not changing much. If I remember correctly, with the original Chillin Moose, that flavor profile didn't change much either. So it is what it is. And again, it might be different for different people, but this cigar isn't necessarily not good, but it's also not bad. It's kind of right in the middle. I could think of at least 3 cigars around the same price point that I would rather smoke. So I don't necessarily know that I would buy this one again. The original Chillin Moose, I would definitely smoke again. Even though the flavor profile didn't change much, it was a different flavor profile. And I think that combination of all the different tobaccos that they put into that original Chillin Moose is what kind of made the flavor profile a little more enjoyable. Got a little bit of like a toasted cedar note, or some toasted wood. I always say toasted cedar because most cigars are going to have your cedar flavor, given the fact that they are all packaged in cedar. And I think the toasted cedar kind of comes from like a mixture of like a toasted almond and then the cedar note in there, and so. All right. Well, we got a little ways to go on this yet. We're just under halfway, so we're going to sit back, smoke the rest of this, and I'll be back. Hold tight. All right, guys. So we're getting down towards the end here. Got about, I don't know, 2.5 inches left of the cigar. So the flavor profile is not really changing a whole lot. It's leaving kind of like the aftertaste or whatever that's kind of left on your tongue. It's kind of like I'd compare it to like a graham cracker, like a toasted graham cracker flavor. Not terrible, but nothing special. And that's kind of how this cigar, I would sum that up. It's not a bad cigar, but it's not special. To me personally, I think I would rather smoke the original. So that's kind of disappointing, as this is supposed to be a follow-up to that. They thought that everybody liked the Chillin Moose so much that they'd make a second one. So, would I buy it again? Yeah, maybe. But like I said before, I could think of at least 3 other cigars that are around the same price point that I would rather have. So, we'll go ahead and run through the numbers. So for the price, I'm going to give it a 3, fairly average. I think anywhere between $4, even up to $5. So that $3 to $5 range, it's really kind of hit or miss on whether you're going to like it or not. But I think that's about average for something like this. So the construction, I went ahead and gave it a 5 just because I had zero problems with the construction. Everything held together well. It is starting to flake just a little bit right there, as you can see on the wrapper. There's a little bit of flaking going on, but we are towards the end, so, and that end of the cigar is a little bit drier for whatever reason. Flavor, we're going to give it a 2, just for the main point that it wasn't very complex. We had that graphite, like a toasted cedar note in there, that little bit of a pepper blast up front. But other than that, it's really nothing that's tickling my taste buds. And then my overall experience is going to be a 3. So I did revise my rating method just a little bit. So the way I was doing it before didn't really make sense to me. The new way I'm doing it, it's somewhat comparable, but I think in the long run it'll pay off a little bit more. So we're gonna basically 4 categories, and then each of those categories I've devised a formula to where, so like for the price on something, just because it's a cheap cigar doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get a higher rating, that kind of a thing. So overall rating for this cigar in my book is going to be a 3.15, so basically a 3 out of 5. So very average. Would I smoke it again? Yeah. Would I go out of my way to pick another one up? No, probably not. Is it something that I would give to a beginner? Yeah. I think it would be good for a beginner. I can't say that they would necessarily like it, but it definitely doesn't have anything in it that's going to be too overpowering for them, or shy them away from smoking cigars. If anything, it might just give them a little more enthusiasm to try something else. So, this is Big T. Today's review was the Chillin Moose Too. Not as good as its big brother. If you haven't tried it, feel free to. But I would recommend going with the original Chillin Moose myself. Hope everybody's having a great day. I know I am. Getting ready to go out, do a little bit of yard work. I'm gonna let the dogs in here in just a second. And oh, with this cigar, make sure you have a beverage because it's very dry smoke. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.